Whatever else Christ is, that's why he's sometimes described as the King of Kings. It's like if the king is the thing that's at the top of the hierarchy, and then you look at all hierarchies and you take the thing that's at the top of all hierarchies of value, then that figure, when you see reflections of that figure anywhere, it produces awe and respect. And that's because that pattern constitutes the appropriate way to act, just as when you see the opposite of that pattern, which might be in its most fundamental essence satanic or demonic, it's something that's ultimately evil, that produces revulsion and terror. And that's all instinctual. It's not in the domain of rationality precisely. It's way, way deeper than that.
I really want to believe that about Jordan Peterson, this is the one thing that gets wrong. And if this one thing could be switched, I think it would ripple throughout the rest of his entire worldview, and he would actually find himself to be a Christian. And it is this idea that ultimate truth is literal. Christians are saying Jesus isn't just another metaphor pointing to some abstract concept about what a good king is like. We're saying he is the literal thing that all other metaphors are pointing to. At some point, you have to have one thing that is literal, that is not a metaphor. And Christ, the myth made real, God become a person walking among us, giving a blueprint for what a perfect person looks like, dying for our sins, rising again, defeating death, giving us hope in his resurrection, and offering us relationship where we are given innocence instead of guilt, where he has atoned for our sins and said, "Come unto me, all ye who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Christ, in all of these ways and instances, is the ultimate truth that every other metaphor, story, fantasy, sub-creative endeavor is pointing us towards. And he is literal. This is the big claim of the New Testament, that ultimate truth has embodied himself, has put on flesh, and is preeminent above all else, and has actually given us a literal way of understanding who he is. This actually makes sense if you think about it intuitively. A metaphor pointing to a metaphor pointing to a metaphor is nonsense. An archetype pointing to an archetype pointing to an archetype is nonsense. These things are downstream from some real, literal thing, and Christ has made that literal truth known to us. Ultimate truth is literal truth. God, a mind, the creator of a universe and the creator of a species that also has a mind, has connected so many dots for us to discover in creation and in the literary world as we use our imaginations to create stories that reflect truths that point back to him. But it's not this infinite regression of metaphor. It's clues along a path. It's breadcrumbs leading us to a location where we can see that the ultimate truth is literal, that Christ is real, that he is, yes, the ultimate myth, yes, the ultimate fantasy, the ultimate fiction in the sense that he checks the boxes of a hero of a story, but he himself is real. He's in history. He is with us. He's Emmanuel, Christ with us, God with us. And this is the big central Christian notion that Jordan Peterson is right on the edge of understanding but has not yet understood. That metaphors pointing to metaphors are absurd, that an archetype for the sake of archetype is absurd, that ultimately the organization, the structure, the intelligence, the beauty, the design, the meaning, the pervasive hero laying down his life and offering eternal love to people that is created in fantasy stories, regardless of century or regardless of culture or regardless of mythological makeup, whether it's the Norse, whether it's the Chinese, whether it's the Mesoamerican, we have the story written in our hearts, and it's worth pondering why. Where did it come from? Christ is the myth made real. Christ is the hope of glory. Consider this today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.